question for Hot Take Santa here. If he's going to bring a gift down the chimney right into the Leafs locker room, as the rosters start to get into a roster freeze here, who do you think the Leafs are targeting? Maybe I've heard maybe Brandon Tanev, Yanni Gourde, Ryan O'Reilly. Is there any gifts you'd like to see under the Leafs tree going into the
all of the above for those four? Get all four of those guys.
Yeah, I mean, I think the Kadri and O'Reilly stuff are interesting. O'Reilly, for me, at the end of the year, made it pretty clear he didn't want to be in Toronto's market. But, I mean, he did win a Stanley Cup and a Conn Smythe with Craig Berube in St. Louis. So that aspect just keeps making me look at it. The Kadri one, the money's a lot. I think he would feel like it's unfinished business in Toronto, and I think it might work out. But I think in terms of the more realistic, Rico, one that you mentioned that I like a lot is Brandon Tanev. I think just obviously naturally his brother's here, but at the same time, I think he's shown even in the early days when Seattle just became the expansion team and Brandon Tanev was like playing middle of the lineup, like he's that grit sandpaper forward. Basically everything the Leafs have benefited on defense with Chris Tanev, you get that in the middle six or at least on the third line with Brandon Tanev. So I think that would probably benefit like a Domi and McMahon on the third line potentially. The other guy I was looking at, and I have looked at many times, is Scott Laughton. I just think Laughton plays that kind of playoff style and brings some secondary scoring. So if the money could work, I mean, if the Flyers wanted to take a chance on a Nick Robertson and then you send like a Jarn Kroer-Kampf contract to Philly, Laughton's contract's only about $3 and a bit million. So that'd be the other guy I'd look at. And then I can't believe Kevin Weeks threw this out, but I mean, I'll run with it if there's some smoke there. Is he said that Mason McTavish's name has been in some trade conversations. If there's any scenario or any world, Rico, where Mason McTavish is available, this might be hot take-ish, but I would include Easton Cowan. That's how highly I look at Mason McTavish. I think he's a beast. If he can stay healthy, he's injury prone a little bit in early on his career, but if he can get back to a healthy point, man, I watched McTavish closely in the OHL too. That guy is just a rock. He can knock a guy over like nothing. He can play both sides of the ice. He's just a motor when he's healthy. So if there was a guy I'd want, and somehow Kevin Weeks threw that out there. So if there was a scenario, I would say, hey, Anaheim, do you want Cowan and Robertson? And I'd bring McTavish to Toronto.